Anyway, we got Howard, is it?
Yeah, I'm over here.
How you doing, Howard?
Let me mute you. All right.
You're where?
You had to turn us off on the TV.
Oh, okay.
Good move.
So that was great. I'm really glad you hung up on that guy there at the end.
I am too. I'm not. I wish we could have had
I say, how dare he bring that up? You know, it's like, I'm sure that amongst the armed forces, there's the same representation of atheists as there is in the general community. And I'll tell you that 85%, I bet you about 15 minutes of discussion with somebody who says they believe in God, you can pretty much get them to say, no, not exactly. No, I don't really believe that stuff.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe 85% might.
I'm an atheist. I've been basically since I was a little kid. I grew up in Brooklyn. I was raised kind of Jewish, not real Jewish, but I remember walking down the street there where there were churches, there were Protestant churches, Catholic churches, synagogues lined up. And the thing is, I said, okay, so you're in a family, and they tell you you go with this one. And you're a Catholic, you're a Protestant, you're a Jew, whatever it is. You walk down the street, you pick, you've got your thing. If you're a Catholic, you walk past the big statue of Jesus and you cross yourself and stuff, and that's all, and nobody, in America, nobody gives you any shit about it. And that's been the beauty of the country, pretty much, until here recently, when the bully Christians have suddenly decided that not only did they get rewarded in this lifetime, they get to tell everybody else how to live their lives. And that, to me, is unpatriotic, downright traitorous. And I think that the horrible situation our country is in right now is the direct result of these people having way too much influence in the whole social scheme that we have in this country. So, I'll put that forward. And then as far as morality goes, whenever I talk to somebody who's a Christian who thinks they get their morality from the Bible and that it comes from God, I tell them there is no God. All that stuff was man-made. A few women got to chip in every once in a while, but it's mostly all man-made.
They got to chip in early until the men took over. All the stuff where
we think you shouldn't kill anybody except look at the fine print, or you can kill a whole bunch of people. All that stuff, it's all relative. They talk about moral relativism. Well, it's all relative.
Well, it's absurd to think that man was alive for I don't know how many years before God decided to lay down the rules that were essential. I mean, it's a whole bunch of silliness in there. But I actually wish that the
absurdity of it just goes, that you can just turn one thing over after another, and you see these people squirm. Like the guy right before the last caller, where all of a sudden he started talking about all this, goodness, that God is goodness, and all this stuff. And it's like, the thing is, it's a cultural thing. Here, our language itself is inadequate to even have a decent discussion about what it's really all about, because our language, for instance, being an atheist, it's an anti-thing.
I'm not so sure. I've actually made that same point before, and I'm not so sure that I disagree with it. I think there are limitations, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that our language is incapable of having these. We can. What we need to do is stop talking at cross purposes. The last caller, I'm disappointed that I ended up hanging up and having to, based on my own feelings on the matter. But I can tell already from having done the show for years, there's no way to reach any kind of consensus or understanding between the two of us. The caller prior to that, where we were actually having a good discussion, and I can understand his reluctance or inability to answer direct questions about what's the justification for, not only for your belief in God, but why somebody else should as well.
Right.
Usually,
because after a while, it just becomes absolutely ridiculous.
Well,
and
usually the
theologists have to start having these really absurd. Well, there's the second guy who talked about, well, how come you're wearing clothes then?
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Usually, the theologists just go with its faith thing. It's required.
It has nothing to do with it, And there are, it's like we are part of this culture. We have to. I think that there's actually a lot more atheists, and I think what's happening right now, because of the technological advances over the last 150 years, where we've just made these incredible strides, and our abilities as to deal with each other as humans really hasn't made that much progress. Just a little bit of progress. And the United States, as an example, like our Constitution, is a fine example. The Bill of Rights, fine examples of human progress. And it's conspicuous by the absence of any mention of Jesus Christ, all our founding documents, you know.
Yeah.
So that, but yet people keep wanting to pull it back. You know, it's like Al Pacino in The Godfather. You know, they keep sucking us back in, sucking us back down the hole of this stupid stuff. Just like, you know, it's really extreme over in the Mideast where they really kill each other about it. Over here, it's just you know, it seems like it's under the surface again, and it's really a horrible, scary thing. Especially since they're also a bunch of gun nuts too. So.
You know, I try to be optimistic, and I basically think that religious extremism goes in cycles.
I didn't hang up. We're getting noise on your phone.
Noise, yeah. Religious extremism goes in cycles, and we happen to be on a really bad downswing at the moment. But I also think that there's evidence that we've hit the low peak.
I actually think
swing back the other way. And I think on the whole, if you were to graph the amount of religious intolerance in the world, if there was an actual numerical scale you could use, it would look something like, you know, up and down and up and down. But wait a minute. Tolerance, the good way. It's going up is good. Okay. We're getting more tolerant over time, but it's swinging back and forth.
Even if it's a deist. Even if you say you're a deist or something like that, you know, where you're like maybe what you were saying about your mother, where she's sort of got the New Age kind of thing, and it's sort of maybe a Gaia thing or some kind of spiritual thing, where the universe has some sort of consciousness overall.
Yeah, she talks about a spiritual internet, which I think is kind of cool.
With the idea that we have no purpose, but obviously we can do lots of really cool stuff, and the world is a wonderful place to experience. So we should just do it and try to be good to each other. And that seems to be, you know, the nutshell of the Bible, which is do unto others as you have them do unto you. I used to teach Hebrew school years ago. You know, that's the essence of it. And then all these religions, all of them, are just one excuse after another for not doing that.
Well, I'm gonna. We got one more caller I want to get to before we get off the air, so I'm gonna let you go after that.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, the doing other thing is the nutshell of the Bible. Only if you're very selective about how you go about picking your nutshell.
Right.
You know, it's mentioned twice, and yet there's all this other stuff in there that's bad advice and immoral.
And also, it's not original to the Bible. I mean, if you Google the Golden Rule history, or
ethic of reciprocity,
you'll find that it shows up all over the place before Jesus co-opted it. Christians like to say that he used slightly different language because he said "do unto others" instead of "do not do unto others." But, you know, it's really...
And actually, I think his is one of the worst because he says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right.
And some people aren't going to want to be treated the way that you want to be treated. So I think a better one is do unto others as they would have you do unto them.
Right. It's like, you know, I really like to eat nuts, but I wouldn't make a person who is allergic to nuts.
I won't be making any comment.
Yeah. Double entendre, none in there.